Congratulations on your new business. My name's Rob and I represent the Protection Department for Surrey Fire and Rescue Service. We're responsible for the teams that educate, inspect and audit commercial businesses. Before you open your new business or building, there are some important things that you need to be aware of relating to fire safety. To ensure the safety of people and businesses from fire, there is legislation called the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order of 2005. This is the legislation that the Fire Service enforce on behalf of Surrey County Council's Fire Authority. This is made up of various articles that you will need to be compliant with. It's supported by the Fire Safety Act 2021, which added additional responsibilities to responsible persons for residential buildings following the tragic Grenfell Tower fire in 2017. Information about these important pieces of legislation can be found at the address on the screen. Regardless of the size or scale of your business, if it is in a commercial premises, then these articles apply to you as the responsible person. It also applies to residential buildings with 2 or more properties that have communal areas. If your business is inside a larger or shared commercial building, then you are still responsible and must ensure that you work closely with the other responsible persons in the building to provide adequate fire safety measures. If you fail to comply with the legislation, enforcement action may be taken against you. You are the responsible person if you fall under any of these definitions in the fire safety order. In relation to a workplace, the employer, if the workplace is to any extent under his control, or the person who has control of the premises as occupier or otherwise in connection with the carrying on by him of a trade, business or other undertaking for profit or not, or the owner where the person in control of the premises does not have control in connection with the carrying on by that person of a trade, business or other undertaking. This means that you are responsible for the fire safety of those that will be expected to use the building, such as employees, contractors and customers. This may all seem quite daunting, but there are lots of resources available on the Gov.uk website, such as guidance documents like these. Being well prepared and organised in preventing fires in your business will support you with business continuity, preventing loss of revenue, customer base and aiding in quicker recovery should anything happen. New businesses are 4 times more likely to have a fire than those that are well established and have good fire safety practices. New businesses that do suffer from a serious fire are less likely to recover and continue trading. In Surrey Fire and Rescue Service, we have a highly qualified, dedicated team that carry out this enforcement. The team is made up of inspectors, advisors and fire engineers. They have to carry out lots of training and development to ensure that we are competent to give advice and react accordingly to those who breach the fire safety legislation. As the enforcing authority, our fire safety teams carry out lots of work inspecting, educating and consulting with businesses and other partners to ensure that buildings and those responsible comply with the fire safety legislation. This includes planning phases of buildings to assist in trying to make them safe before anyone uses them. Your local fire and rescue service can support you through education, signposting and visiting your site to consult and advise on best practice. We cannot, however, take responsibility for your fire safety. We provide guidance and support through initiatives and partnership working such as Business Safe and Well visits. There are lots of private companies that can support you in keeping your business safe. We cannot recommend any companies, but would encourage you to check that they are suitably qualified, accredited and insured to give you advice or complete fire safety work for you. This accreditation may be through the IFE, for example. If external companies complete work for you, the ultimate responsibility falls to you to make sure it is suitable. We would like our interactions with you as responsible persons to be as professional and informative as possible, not after you have suffered a fire. Depending on the risk of the business you operate, we may ask to visit you more often. High-risk premises are generally those with sleeping areas, complex or dangerous processes, or where vulnerable people would not easily be able to escape. These may be visited yearly. Those that are lower risk may be visited less regularly, providing that the fire safety is of a good standard. The team will contact you prior to visiting to ensure a mutually agreeable time and date. Once agreed, they will then introduce themselves and show identification. The inspectors have powers to visit any areas inside the premises, so you should ensure that you have access keys for those areas. During the visit, the inspector will ask to see evidence of the following: fire risk assessments. If you employ 5 or more persons, any significant findings must be written down and outcomes addressed in an action plan with reasonable timescales. Even with less than 5 employees, although it isn't a requirement, it is good practice to record your risk assessments so that it can be regularly updated and shared with those that need to understand it. If you're responsible for a residential building, these assessments may also need to include the external wall construction, and any of those findings should then be shared with your residents. If you have an automatic fire alarm system, then this must be regularly tested and serviced by a competent person. If you do not need an automatic system, then you must ensure that if a fire breaks out, that it will be seen and people will be able to escape safely. This may be a gong to make noise, for example. As the responsible person, you must also ensure that any employees are appropriately trained in the event of a fire occurring. This may take the form of fire wardens, fire extinguisher training, housekeeping, reporting of fire, or anything else that is deemed appropriate for making your business safer from fire. Any fire safety systems in your building, such as fire doors, signage, or firefighting systems such as sprinklers, should be regularly checked and inspected by a competent person. Good practice is to record this as well, so it can be evidenced if you are inspected. Security and housekeeping, externally and internally, will help to prevent you from being a victim of arson. A good level of housekeeping will also prevent accidental fires from occurring in your business. Not allowing goods to be left in corridors, keeping kitchen areas clean, or preventing the wedging of fire doors are simple examples to reduce the risks of issues should a fire break out and to prevent arson. If your business is inside a larger shared or multiple use building, then under Article 22 of the Fire Safety Order, you need to make sure that you understand the fire safety actions required of you and that you fully cooperate with other responsible persons. This will help you to maintain compliance with the Fire Safety Order. This means talking to each other about your individual hazards, risks and control measures and taking all reasonable steps to cooperate and coordinate with each other. An unwanted automatic fire alarm signal is any fire alarm signal other than a genuine fire or test signal, and in the fire service we call these AFAs. As responsible persons, you are responsible for ensuring that any notification of a potential fire is correctly investigated prior to calling the fire and rescue service. This includes automatic fire alarm systems connected to a fire alarm monitoring organisation. Surrey Fire and Rescue Service will not respond to automatic fire alarms unless they have been investigated and signs of a fire exist. For further support, please feel free to get in touch. You can also get lots of useful information from the YouGov website or through the NFCC.